This is Centered, where faith meets everyday life. Our hope is to invite you into a better story, a story where you're made new through Jesus, living with God-given purpose, and experiencing peace, joy, and freedom. Together, we'll explore what it means to keep Jesus at the center of where we live, work, and play, bringing beauty, meaning, and renewal to every part of our lives. Thank you for joining us. Here are your hosts, David and Ben.
My precious. Oh, hello. Welcome to Centered. My name is Ben.
I'm David.
And this is where faith meets real life.
Everyday life, man.
Every day.
How you doing today?
Really good. I've got my Frappuccino.
Yeah. I got a little product placement here going on. We are not sponsored by Starbucks yet. But it could happen.
Could happen.
You never know.
We wouldn't turn it down. We love Starbucks. We love all coffee.
I need this less than I did yesterday. I think I'm fully recovered from daylight savings.
I slept 8 hours. I don't normally do that.
Yeah.
I'm normally 6.5, 7, but I was actually 8.5 last night.
I was on the struggle bus yesterday.
It's been a hard week.
It got me.
It's been a hard week.
It got me. But today I'm back, ready.
We're back.
Fully energized. I got my full 6-7 hours of sleep, feeling good. Ready for this, man.
So you got up at like 5:30 today, normal time?
I did, yeah. I did. Well, normal I'm 4:30, but when the time changes, I kind of move with it, you know.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And I'll stay up later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So, yeah, instead of like getting in bed at, I'm embarrassed to say, like 9:30, it might be like 10:30.
That's when I went to bed last
night.
So,
you did?
Yeah, 10:30. I went early.
Bro.
Because I had to be
We're on the
up
same
early.
We're on the same schedule now.
For one day a
week. For
one
day a
week. Yeah. It'll be one tonight, but it's fine. Yeah. Well, hey, today we're talking about technology.
Yeah.
And that was the message from Sunday. I loved the message. It was great.
It was a good Sunday. 8 baptisms.
It was a really good Sunday.
Yeah, there was energy in the room.
So much energy.
People were singing. Dude, it was cool.
We
have this, like, my wife and I sit on the left side. We feel like there's just like new little, like, I don't know, cult of worshipers that are over there now. Like the hand raisers are on our side. I guess like the freedom. I'm a hand raiser, so
me too. Me too.
We got that. We got that little thing going.
Oh man. Well, all you people on the right side, step it up.
Yeah, totally. That's what.
Now people are going to be figuring out.
Totally, like which side is it? Stage right? Is it
yeah.
Stage left? They know where I sit, though.
That's it's not the big mystery we thought it was. Darn it.
Yeah.
All right, well, so much for that.
Yeah.
Hey, so we've got a brand new segment for the podcast. It's called The Cutting Room Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have never preached a sermon out there, basically what you do is you have a ton of sermon material, and it's all essential, and you have to cut these essential parts of your message to get down to time.
You have to whittle it down.
And it's painful.
Yeah. I don't think they know I have this, like, clock, like the staring at me when I'm preaching, counting me down. Like,
some of them know from previous.
Okay. People, they're like looking back.
They're turning around like it's red. Yeah. No, there's a clock. Yeah.
There's a clock. Yeah.
Yeah. And we
try to
keep him to it.
I do. So I write 7 pages. That's about like my content that I write out. And then I cut it down to 3.
Okay.
So I cut more pages of content than I actually
you keep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this segment's going to be about 40 minutes.
Yeah. I got 40 minutes of cutting room floor stuff. No,
that's fantastic.
No, we don't. I got one thing that I like really wanted to talk about, but it got like a little too nerdy and heady and whatnot in it, and so it just didn't have time. But this guy named Neil Postman wrote a book in 1985 called "Musing Ourselves to Death."
Okay,
and it was talking about like how the medium in which we get our information changes that information just by the nature of the medium. And so it talked about from like going from newspaper to TV.
Okay.
And the big transformation that took place on the quality of the content, the truthfulness of the content, the depth of the content, all that kind of stuff that's happened. He had no idea what was coming.
Right, 1985.
Right. So there
weren't reels?
Yeah.
Not yet? No Instagram reels yet?
No,
in 85?
no Instagram reels. No, Facebook
there was a world
wasn't
without.
A thing. Yeah, there wasn't we had the internet, but it wasn't content
that.
driven or anything like that. And so the whole idea is that when we get information from the same place that we get our entertainment from, it has an impact and effect. So like televisions run by what keeps televisions on?
Oh, advertising.
Yeah, advertisement money, right?
Yeah.
And so if you want to get money, you have to keep people tuning in. So advertisers want to use you to get their product out on that.
The more people tuning in, the more money that advertisers are willing to pay, and so on and so forth.
Right. And so you just have to ask yourself, how does that change the content, right? Now, instead of just presenting the news, I need to make the news exciting. I want people to tune in. I need to
scintillating.
I need to entice people to come in. And so we do that. And on top of that, it's a platform that is more short form. So you can't have a 3-hour newscast. You got to have these short little 30-minute segments where
it's only 30 now. It used to be 60 minutes.
Used to be 60 minutes,
I
right?
remember that was a thing.
And I think it's even shorter on the different segments. And so, you just got to ask yourself, what does it do when you monetize something? It changes the content that you get and the motivation behind it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The motivation's entirely different.
Totally.
The motivation is keeping the machine going, building the brand, increasing revenue, as opposed to like an altruistic, journalistic, perspective.
Yeah. Journalism has totally changed now because of that and the integrity of it, and then even if you do have journalism that is good and filled with integrity, the way it's presented now is not in its full form.
Okay,
so you don't even get the full aspect of it. You only get what sells.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Did you watch Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Crazy. I've never seen anything like that.
No, never.
But I was sitting there.
Why is it on TV?
Totally.
That's what I wonder.
Yeah, it's like normally these things used to be done behind closed doors.
Right.
But Trump said something that was absolutely fascinating. In the middle of his conversation, he says this is going to make for good TV.
Well, he wasn't wrong.
He was not wrong. You know what I mean? And
people
it did.
Nuts.
And people ate it up, right?
Yeah,
because there's conflict. It's everything that a good entertainment like play or show would have now in the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's changed. And so we can't trust everything that we hear or see or, consume.
Yeah. Well, and what's really fascinating about it too is like depending on your news channel, you're going to get an entirely different perspective on what that meeting was, what it meant, and like what are the outcomes, or what does that do to America, Ukraine, Europe, etc.
Totally.
But they all have a different audience, a different agenda, and a different means by which they grow their audience.
Totally. Yeah. They all have ratings that they need to keep up.
Nielsen. Mr. Nielsen. He's a big deal.
Yeah.
Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I want to talk about. And just when we talk about when we consume, what it's doing to us, like just being aware that there are motivations and forces behind the information that we're consuming that oftentimes we're not aware of. So, we hear, a clip that's meant to draw you in or keep you tuned in, and it can be, what's it called? Like entertainment-fied. Instead of just being the pure news or the story of what's going on, now there's this entertainment layer that is there to keep you tuned in instead of just information. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about that. Let's look at that on a different level, like social media. Because where I saw more about this Trump-Zelensky like meeting was on social media.
Right.
You know?
And how long are the reels that you're watching?
Oh, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Six, a really long one, 60 seconds.
There's a limit, right?
Yeah,
that they can post, or you have to boot up and yeah, man, like on those things, they have to take the most exciting part to get you to stay on that reel, right? And so you're hearing a very small sliver of the story. And if I was to ask someone like, hey, the conflict in Ukraine, what is it really about? When did it start? How did it happen? Where, what's Ukraine's history? What's Russia's history? Like, people don't know that stuff anymore. And so they're just responding to these 30-second reels and clips and sound bites instead of really taking the time to know the story, and do that, which, and that was my thing. And the other thing I didn't get to flesh out was how lazy this new form of media makes us, like.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I totally. Like TLDR, too long, didn't read. You know, like if you've got somebody's Facebook post, even like, dear friend, love this person, and it says more, and I got to hit more to like expand. Like I'm not doing it very often. Like it's very rare.
Yeah.
Sorry, mom. Like whoever it is, like it's just, because I don't have the attention span, the time, but also like, I feel like we're bombarded by messages. Like I'm receiving so many messages in a day, and it's just overwhelming. Yeah. So for someone like me who's not like hyper politically driven, I care and I pay attention, but it's not like on the top of my interest list. I don't have the desire or the priority to take the 2-3 hours or longer, realistically, in something as complex as the Ukraine and Russia and everything going on there, to fully understand it. So I just choose to get a cursory understanding, try to get a little bit of both sides, but also not like form really strong opinions on something I don't understand.
Yeah. And that's really where the biggest negative is, that it's causing people to walk around with the illusion of being informed without really being informed. And so they make all kinds of decisions, and oftentimes what it does is it divides people instead of brings people together, and they make all kinds of decisions based on limited information. And then now, at what point does a bunch of partial truths become a complete untruth?
Right. But you live as if it's an absolute
totally
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you live in this lie, and I'm not taking like sides on it doesn't matter if it's Fox News or CNN, both of them have ratings they have to fulfill.
Absolutely.
And have chosen to use entertainment as the medium in which they communicate their information, and that does something to us. And now we live in an entertainment culture that's making us dumber, more angrier, more scared, all of these types of things, and we're not even aware of it, that's what's happening.
No, and then you take like, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, that's one medium. And then you take the same content that's already dumbed down and already like shortened and condensed, and you put it into a social media format with, instead of like 8-minute segments or 10 or 15 or 30, if they're really getting into something,
even shorter,
60 seconds, and then you've got this algorithm, right? And the algorithm just feeds me what I want to see. So it's an echo chamber. It's confirmation bias. I'm only hearing from the people who agree with me. So everyone agrees with me. So it must be true. And now I'm in a situation where I'm not as well informed as I think I am.
Yeah.
And I'm very angry at the people who hold an opposing view.
Totally. Yeah. And we find ourselves angry at a bunch of lies. It reminds me of when the Israelites were going into the Promised Land, and they had the land of Canaan, and they sent 12 spies out to go, and all of them came back and were like terrified. And they're like, "There's giants in the land." And Joshua's like, "Yeah, but you're forgetting the main truth. God said He was going to defeat them." But all they could hear was just that little like soundbite. There's giants in the land. There's giants in the land. But that's not the whole story.
Right.
Joshua comes back and gives the whole story. Like, yes, that's true, but this is also true. And it had a huge effect on how the Israelites responded to that moment. They missed out, like a lot of Israelites. It actually turned out where a whole generation of Israelites had to die off before they got sent back into the land that God promised them because of living into half-truths.
Yeah. Well, and fear.
Fear, right. Motivated by fear.
Which is, fascinating because as you think about social media, like social media understands human behavior and how fear is like one of the driving motivators to keep people engaged, to keep people on their platform. Because that's all, like Meta, they're interested in one thing. You're actually not the consumer, you're the product. They want you on the platform as much as possible and as long as possible, and will feed you whatever it takes to do that, because the actual customer is the advertisers.
Totally. Yep.
And so that's their medium.
Yeah.
And so they know if we capitalize on fear and the posts that create the most fear, create the most comments, create the most like angst and friction, those comments get the most traction, keep people engaged on the platform, and they're just doing whatever they need to do to make money, right? Because that's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And I would love to go back and revisit the book. It's been a long time since I read it, and I bought it just for the title,
Yeah.
Like, and I think I got it in the 90s or something like that, late 90s when I finally came across it. But yeah, that idea that we're just amusing ourselves to death, and it includes some really key issues, like when we talk about the political world and, social engagement and relationships and all of that stuff. We've used an entertainment platform to facilitate those things, and it's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really good for us to just having that knowledge and being aware of it can be a big help in the way that we consume that information.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next segment, we landed on a segment. It's a really simple name. Just for funsies.
Oh,
just for funsies.
Just for funsies.
It might relate to what we're talking about. It might not.
Okay.
Today we have a question. It does relate to the topic at hand. And it's a really simple question. If you could delete from existence, from all of history, one app, since we're talking technology, one app, what would it be? So I'll start with mine, and I'll give you a time to think about that, to chew on it. For mine, it's the weather app.
Yeah.
The weather app is nonsense.
In Colorado.
Especially here. I'm from LA, and so in LA, you check the weather app. Yeah, it's 70 again. It's great. Like, and there's changes to the weather, but nothing near as extreme, and nothing near as like sudden as Colorado. So I'll check the weather in the morning, and it'll tell me it's going to be 60 degrees, and then it'll snow that same day. And I'm unprepared. I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm wearing shorts, whatever the case might be. And so I get frustrated, or it'll tell me it's going to snow.
Yeah.
And it's 55.
Yeah.
And I've got a parka, and I'm hot, and I'm not like, so I always look like a fool.
So is the app wrong, or is Colorado rebellious?
Ooh, well, I think Colorado's definitely rebellious, but and I
it's the tail wagging the dog.
I know how it works.
Maybe Colorado knows what the weather app says. Just says, I'm going to defy it.
Yeah. No. There's times where I'd watch like 9 News, and I'd be like, Kathy Saban is a liar, and it's not. I know it's not her fault. I'm not blaming Kathy Saban, but it's frustrating to me, and so it's like it seems like a pointless app. Yeah, the weather app. So I would just get rid of it.
Yeah, the whole this is a tangent, but the whole meteorologist job, it seems like the best gig in the world, dude.
Dude, like, what if we could be wrong
totally
80% of the time and still keep our jobs
totally.
just because we're handsome and likable?
Yeah, or have a job where all you do is just state the obvious. It's really windy outside. Look at it blowing. Yeah, you just don't understand it. But I guess in certain like serious situations like hurricanes,
yes.
Where you need to afford people to. But yeah, for most of their lives, they're just stating the obvious.
Yeah. If you're a meteorologist out there, we want you to know we love you.
Oh, we love
you. And we're kind of jealous of your job, honestly.
Of your job. Totally.
Yeah.
Nothing,
this is not shade.
No shame. You picked the right career.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do have a bunch of people mad at you all the time for.
Sorry.
Yeah, mine's easy, man. Candy Crush.
Oh,
Go.
Candy Crush.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I see like.
Do you play?
No, I don't. I don't play, but I see people consumed with this game everywhere I go. Yeah, yeah, and I don't understand like the. It is mind-numbingly simple.
I think
and
that's
people
the point.
love it. And some people are making money off of it, like advertisers and stuff off of this. Like,
Huge money.
yeah.
I had a Candy Crush season.
I would wonder, like, I would love to know how many hours a day is spent on Candy Crush collectively, globally.
Oh, like a Candy Crush screen time.
Yeah. Just globally, collectively. Every person. Like,
Yeah. I think I have Candy Crush like on my phone. I don't play it. I did for like a hot minute, and I realized it's a massive waste of my time.
it is so dumb.
But there is something like gratifying, like you drag the little blue ball into like a string of blue ball, and then or pink or whatever, like it just and it explodes, and then sometimes it'll like cause other explosions, and it's very exciting, David. You just wouldn't understand.
Guess I don't understand. Yeah, that's the one thing. But the other day I was in the doctor's office, and I like literally every person in there was on Candy Crush, just passing time. It was just a weird thing.
I didn't think Candy Crush was still that big.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm
Maybe
just
it's a
old.
demographic.
Maybe it's
Was
like I'm
it
old. Yeah,
middle of the day in the doctor's office.
It was like,
I mean,
an
that's-
old man doctor
that's
visit.
okay. Yeah,
I'm that
that's
age.
That's probably it.
Totally.
I don't think Courtney and Tanner are playing a lot of Candy Crush. No, she's shaking her head.
No, she is. Yeah.
No Candy Crush.
No Candy Crush. Good for you.
Yeah,
Stay away
that's
from
smart.
it. Do you
Yeah.
Wordle? That's.
I don't Wordle.
Yeah.
No, I know people who are like in Wordle groups.
Yeah.
You know, so like they'll be like, I got it in 4, I got it in 7, I got it in, and I don't even know. Like I know 4 is better than 7, but I don't know what's good.
Yeah.
Because I don't do it. Because I ain't got no time for that.
Yeah. Time suck, man. All those things are time sucks. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I have other time sucks. Like, I'm not saying I don't
there's
have
enough
any.
legitimate time sucks out
I'm
there.
not
for
even saying mine are
illegitimate
legitimate.
ones.
I'm just saying there
Illegitimate
I
ones,
have
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on from the funsies, and man, I want to take just a moment to kind of react a little bit to the message on Sunday. I thought it was great. It was really. I really loved where you started with identity, and that's where Paul starts. And it really grabbed the hold of me, and it made me think of the book Atomic Habits, James Clear. And it's a book, I like to say I read the book. I read part of the book. Like I don't finish books a lot.
Yeah.
I get through I'm really half to 2/3 of a book, and I don't know what happens. I just peter out. Yeah. But I read about half of that
book. Might not
book.
be your fault too, because oftentimes books about 1/3 of the way through start to repeat
Drift
themselves and reiterate what's already been done. You're like,
I already
okay,
picked
I got
up
it.
on
Yeah.
this.
So
yeah,
it might not be you.
But I do have a quote because I thought this was good. And Atomic Habits is really all about changing your habits either for success or just the kind of person you want to be, whatever that is. And so he talks about the strategies to changing your habits, and he gives 3 main strategies. And he talks about this: the third and deepest layer is changing your identity. So if you want to change a habit, you change your identity. He says this level is concerned with changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your judgments about yourself and others. Most of the beliefs, assumptions, and biases you hold are associated with this level. So when I was reading this book, I don't know why I'm a nail biter. I don't think it's nerves. I just think it's a habit that I formed somehow. And but I don't like it. I don't love it about myself. And Lauren really hates it. She's like, guess what I found on the coffee table? I'm like, sorry. And so,
at least not your toenails.
Well,
That could be
I don't
worse.
bite those. I'm not that flexible otherwise.
Yeah.
And so what I did, and it worked for a season, but I don't think I fully embraced it, is I told myself, I'm not the kind of person who bites his fingernails. And for probably a good 2-3 months, I don't even know if she realizes, but I stopped.
Yeah.
And it worked until I stopped thinking about who I am as a person who doesn't bite his fingernails and just started reverting back to a person who does.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge overlooked biblical principle is just identity over activity. And I don't want to negate, like, there's seasons if you're in really destructive patterns of behavior where you just need to stop patterns of behavior, because
Right.
it's destructive. But like lasting change comes from the inside out, not the outside in. And just like you just become a different person on the inside, and that spills out into your habits and behavior. And man, the gospel's one of the things I love to talk about is that oftentimes we put law before relationship with God.
Mm.
And when you look at the journey of God's people, specifically the Israelites, and being rescued, before God gave them a law, he rescued them. Before he required anything of them or
Yeah.
asked anything of them, he brought them out
Yeah.
of slavery. And so his act towards them was not dependent upon them.
Right.
Not their behavior, not their attitudes, not their actions. And matter of fact, a lot of them had walked really far away from their understanding of God. They had been enslaved for almost 500 years and lost their religion and were stuck in a world that had 1,000 different gods to believe in, and they forgot who they were in many points. And he brought them out and began to reestablish their enemy. But his rescue of them became before their activity.
Yeah.
So that changed them, right? Now they were a rescued people, and the time in the wilderness was teaching them how to live into their identity.
Right.
Like,
So
how do I live as a
forming them.
rescued people? Beloved, rescued, sought, heard, by God. How do I begin to live out this identity? And I think that's a huge part of our Christian faith, is just learning to live into what's already true of us.
Yeah.
God loves us, he sees us, and he made a way for us to be saved. And what does that say about us, at the very core and who we are? And that's
Yeah.
a big part of discipleship, more than behavior modification or giving people a bunch of religious activities to embrace. Not that some practices, the practices that Christians do, reinforce what's already true, right?
Mhm.
So I pray because I'm in relationship with a God who listens to me and talks to me and speaks to me. I don't pray to try to get something new or different. I pray because I want to live into what's already true of me. Beloved by God, I have his ear, I have his heart, like that whole idea. And so that's a thing that people mix up a lot. And I
Oh,
hear
all the time.
hear it all the time.
Churches.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we see it all the time in churches. Churches love to lead with law and morality as almost. I feel like they use it as a tool to let you maybe their intent is to help you see your brokenness. But I think what we often feel is unredeemable.
Yeah.
Because that's the focal point of the conversation, as opposed to the idea of who we are, that we're created in God's image, loved by him, known by him, saved by him. And so it makes it really hard to believe those things to be true when the focus is on how we don't live up to God's standard.
Yeah.
And those things, that's also true.
Yeah.
But it's like, what's our focal point? What do we lead with? What are we entering into those conversations with to help people fully know and understand and lean into the fact that they are those things, like loved and cared for and, chosen by God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that two things are coming to mind. But one is, I love the fact that Jesus died 2,000 years ago. Like, he did what was necessary to bring salvation into my life when I wasn't even around, didn't have anything to do with it, wasn't based on choices I was going to make or didn't make or anything. He did it as an act of love for me without me,
Right.
Like, didn't require
before you
me.
existed.
Yeah, didn't require me to do that. And now when we share the gospel, it's like, hey, this is already done for you. You don't have, it doesn't matter what you do or don't. This is already done for you. Like, it happened. And that's the whole point of, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. God shows his love for us in this, that's what really the love of God actually is not dependent upon us. And man, that's a freeing thing. where I
Yeah.
can just be like, oh, now I receive that, and then I get to spend my life figuring out what it looks like to live into that identity, one that's loved and redeemed and already paid the penalty for, like,
Yeah. What is that full life that Jesus talks about? He came to give us life
yeah,
in the full. And I feel like it's really hard to experience the fullest expression of life when we're focused on all the things that we're doing wrong.
yeah,
Because that really is like if I'm focused on those things, I'm living my life to try to be better,
yeah,
as opposed to just living my life as an expression of gratitude towards God for all that he's done. That just changes the whole story,
yeah,
and I feel like it's way less depressing, or like striving is the
Yeah.
word I'm thinking of. Like when I'm living from a place of unhealth and brokenness, and that's all I'm focused on, I'm striving to be better.
yeah,
But if I know that in Christ, with the power of his Spirit living in me, that I can be something else, I'm living from a place of gratitude and like just wanting to live that out and express that in the world around me and the relationships that I'm in and in the people that I find myself around. And
yeah,
it's a totally different story.
yeah, yeah. I think, and that's, a lot of confusion comes around how people actually change, and a lot of the early church fathers would talk about the expulsive power of God's love, and so it was the way to change is not to try to get rid of something in your life. The way to change is to find something else more beautiful than that thing. And so when God becomes more beautiful to us, when we really, and that's what glory is, it's like literally beauty. That's the weightiness of God's beauty, like bearing down in our lives, and it's like, if you've ever fallen in love, like it changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Like the beauty of love is like, you could be like in the middle of, getting your arm bit off by a shark, but when you're in love, like that's all that matters, right? It's like
Feels great.
the love is greater than the pain of whatever this thing is. And I know that's an extreme example, but that's like what Jesus wants for us, is not to like sit there and like go through the list of all the things that need to change. He wants to introduce a better, more satisfying love in our lives, what we were made for, a love that we were actually made for. And what that does is it diminishes our love for lesser things or destructive things or hurtful and harmful things in our lives. And we begin chasing after our greater love. And so, the greatest way to change is to fall in love with God more, It's like, dude, I pray more and read my Bible more and, try to look at my screen less because of my love for God, not because of my shame or guilt for that thing. And that's really what this thing,
Right.
like my whole deal is, I want to bring awareness around the forming or deforming powers in our lives, so we're aware. So
Yeah.
we're not ignorant, but not as a way to shame people,
No.
but as a way to say, hey, maybe there's something better out there that we can
Yeah.
start chasing after and looking at.
Yeah, no, and that's like actually a really good segue to like the other big thing that I pulled from the message was what we behold, we become.
Yeah.
And so this idea of like the phone itself or your computer or whatever the medium is, like that's not bad. It's not good. It's benign. It's neutral. It's neither. It's how we use those things that affect us. And so, what are the things that I'm engaging with on this device?
Yeah.
And how are they forming me?
Yeah.
And so, that's something that, I've had to, like, I've really just spent the last few days just examining, like, what is that? I went to the bathroom twice without my phone yesterday. I'm 0 for 1 today, though.
On purpose or accident, and you're just aware of it?
Well, once was on purpose and once was an
an
accident.
accident,
So grade me however you choose, but
Yeah.
but there is some intent behind it. Is just I'm trying to be more thoughtful about
Yeah.
what it is I'm consuming, because I understand, to a certain extent at least,
Yeah.
what effect it has on me.
Yeah. And that's like, it's so, I heard someone say one time, people always find what they're looking for. I just thought that was like,
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, I first heard that and I was like, that's not true. And I started thinking
You too
about,
says otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
Still haven't
that's
found it.
funny. Still haven't found. But it's like, yeah, if you're a person that's looking for conflict and light and devil behind every bush, and if you're a person that's always looking for the negative, you're going to find it because it exists out there. But if you're a person who, and this is what I love about Bob Goff, like you read his book, I love him and hate him because he's like a person I'll never be able to live up to.
No,
like I'm
it's
not that
infuriating
personality.
on some
it is
level.
infuriating.
Like,
but he is that caricature of someone who like is always looking for good. It doesn't matter if he's talking to a prison inmate that's on death row because he literally gives his phone number out and anyone can call him at any given time. Yeah, and he just has these crazy conversations.
Unreasonably unavailable, is that his thing?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Thing.
Yeah,
like
it's like,
unreasonable.
what?
But he's committed to always look for good. And it's this idea of like, man, yeah, I think the same thing is kind of true with that gazing. Like the more we spend our time gazing on the negative and bad and the tools and the means of this world and all of that, it gets in us like leaven. We talked about Lent and being in Lent. It just gets in us, in our hearts, and it has a way of infecting all kinds of things in us. And so, man, like if I'm ready for a fight, if I come into the situation, the office or, my home or whatever, and I'm ready for a fight, I'll find a fight. But if I come in and I'm ready for peacemaking, like, man, it's like whatever. Yeah.
It's game changing.
Game changer.
Absolutely. And, I've found over the years, I've really tried to look for beauty more in just the everyday stuff because I want to be that kind of person, but I don't have the natural, like, I feel like Bob Goff has a natural inclination towards like joy and just, I don't know. I don't have that. Yeah. And so, but one thing like my wife and I we've talked about is like, what kind of old person am I going to be? Yeah. Because I just have a strong belief that as you get older, whatever is in your heart comes out. Yeah. Because you're done putting on airs. Totally. You're done. You're not trying to impress people anymore. You're just like, I've lived my life and this is who I am. And I want who I am to be someone who is like sees the best in other people, who brings life and joy and hope into situations. Totally. And I know like, generally speaking, it's a bit of a, stereotype, caricature, whatever, but generally speaking, older people are either like some of the most joy-filled, incredible people that you'll ever know who just bring life into every room, or kind of crusty. Yeah. And maybe life's beat them up. It's not really a judgment on the good or bad of it. It's just not what I want from myself. I want to be someone who has joy, who has, life and hope and brings that to other people as I become who I really am.
I can almost guarantee that Bob Goff doesn't spend a lot of time watching the news or being on Instagram, social media. I can almost like just his like personality, what he gives his life to. I can almost guarantee that those things aren't a regular practice in his life.
Well, I'm screwed.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm serious.
Okay,
like,
no, I think you're right.
There's formational powers out there, that keep us in or lock down or drag down. And we have to be aware of how, you talked about the Atomic Habits. James K. Smith wrote a book called "You Are What You Love." It's like the atomic habit of the Christian world.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And but his question was this. He says, I want everyone to wake up asking this question: what are the things that I'm doing to me?
Like the impact.
Yeah. What are they doing to me? And it's like little habits and things that we are observing. I mean, even biologically, like, are we, sitting on the couch or taking a walk? Are we, you know what I mean? Are we eating, a carrot every now and again, or is it only chocolate cake? Is it, there's everything has an impact on
absolutely
our lives, and just growing up into our awareness of how these things are affecting us is huge.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true. And I think it's a good turn to kind of talk about in real life. Like, what do we do with technology? I think, we've talked a little bit about awareness, And awareness is a big piece of, just understanding the impact, like what are these things doing to us? And what is, maybe not even what these things are, right? But what we're consuming on them more accurately.
Totally.
Right? So what are some of the things that we can do in real life to put this awareness into practice?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is putting technology in its right and proper place. So that's like one thing. You talked about it. You don't want to be the product. You want it to be the product, right? You want it to be the tool. You don't want to be the tool.
Nobody wants to be a tool.
No one wants to be a tool. Like, that's it. And I think it's like, man, are you allowing technology to use you, or are you using it, in a way that's productive? And that's just a super basic, like,
one of the craziest things is if you ever look at your like screen time report, pickups. Like, it tells you how many times you've picked up your phone.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
And it tells you what app you went to when you picked up.
I don't want to know any of that information.
I glanced at it, and it's embarrassing. I don't actually remember what it was, but it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot of times I've picked up my phone, and so. But what's really fascinating is, what did I go to?
Yeah,
because it's a lot of it's based on notifications, right?
Right.
So like one of the things that I've tried to do for the sake of awareness is, and I've gotten away from this and I want to get better at it again. But at one point I had my notifications pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
To like, what's important? What's worth being interrupted for?
Yeah.
And what do I really value, as opposed to just, now, man, I looked, the second most notifications I get on my phone is the NBA app.
Yeah.
I like the NBA. But it's not the second most important thing in my life.
Right.
Like,
totally.
not even close.
Yeah.
It's like, it's down the list.
Yeah.
And yet it's getting me to pick up my phone.
Totally.
20 times a day. And so like, I was like literally thinking like, I don't want to turn off the notifications, but can I like just get them to my team, or get them to like where it's 3 notifications a day would be huge. Yeah. Something like that. And so I do that, but I also have my watch. And so you can get notifications on your watch, and you can mirror like what you get on your phone, you get on your watch. But I don't do that. I even tighten it up a little bit further.
What comes through
on my watch.
Yeah.
Like if my wife texts me, it's coming through on the watch.
Yeah.
But the NBA app
score,
is like,
whatever.
Yeah, it's not coming through.
And those are all tools that are really, really helpful that we have. Like, all of our devices have safety features like that protect us from being engaged in it. They don't love it. They make it hard sometimes to set it up and get it, but they're all there.
It's not in the setup guide.
Yeah.
When you get something new and it's like, here's the 5 steps to set up.
Yeah.
They don't put that on there.
Yeah. I love and hate the with this thing, so and so has notifications silenced on text message. I get
notify them anyways. Do you do that?
Dude, no, I've never done that. But I've wanted to before. But it's like,
I've done it.
I'm almost jealous. You know what I mean? That they're like, oh, dude, they've got something dialed in, and they've set aside time to.
Maybe I need to change.
Be free from it.
I actually have that set up so that nobody can see when my notifications are silenced. Because I don't even want them to know when I'm available and not available.
Yeah.
It's just like a weird control thing for me of like being able to control my calendar and when I respond to things and when I don't. And I also, when I have things like notifications turned off, I don't want someone to be able to say, no, notify them anyways.
Right.
Like I don't want to be interrupted. That's why I turned them off. And I have it all set up too. Like, when I'm in Do Not Disturb, my wife gets through no matter what. Like there's certain things. So it's not like I'm going to miss some emergency in my family.
Yeah.
But most everything else can wait. But we live in a world where technology has trained us that nothing can wait.
Yep.
Everything is urgent. I'm available 24/7.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a little bit of an unhealthy component to that too.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So first thing is use technology. Don't let it use you. The second thing is locate yourself. I always think that that's a really important thing. Like, be intentional about where you're at and how you using technology is affecting your surroundings. So, we have like a no phone at the dinner table type of thing. That's our time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like presence. You're talking about being present.
Be present whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, and like
Yeah.
I even would encourage other places as well, like when you're waiting in line,
Mm.
one for your own benefit, but also like, man, I really believe that God, I just wonder how many like divine moments we've missed in our lives because of our phones, standing in the grocery line or,
Yeah.
waiting in line at Starbucks for your coffee or just whatever.
Oh, I had a
Yeah.
horrible experience on Sunday after church. There's a Montana missions team meeting, and they're meeting in like our staff lounge. And I'm just like walking through to like do something, and I'm on my phone. I literally didn't
buried.
see there were like 15 people having a meeting. I walked right in the middle of it, and I looked
Right.
up. I'm like, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
just like, did you not listen to the sermon at all? Like, I guess not. I don't know what happens.
Just-
you know.
yeah.
But we do. We miss what's happening around us. Like I literally didn't see 15 people and they're talking.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that presence is really important. It's something that I'm not great at. It can be a pain point in our home. I know, like Lauren will get like, I'm talking to you, like, hey, get off
Yeah.
your phone. And I was like, I was on my phone before you talked. Like,
Yeah.
but like,
Totally.
and we'll have back and forth on that stuff. But I do think, to be present wherever I am is really
huge.
important. And
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be, I think we often think of presence and we limit it to like when we're with important people.
Yeah.
But we can be present in more situations than just that. Like you're saying, being in a line.
Yeah.
And maybe you hear something and maybe God wants you to speak life to someone or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we just miss it.
Yeah. When our engagement is, when we have more engagement in the digital space than we do in the material world, it dehumanizes people. And, even simple things like, I have friends, and I know this isn't a cool thing, like younger generations younger than me, like get offended when you call them without like
Wait,
announcing
before
call-
texting?
Yeah, before texting, be like, "Hey, you free for a call?" Like, just
Bro.
when you just call out of the blue,
I'm with
it
them.
freaks people out.
I
these
am
days.
with them.
But I have friends who I can just call and hear their voice. You know what I mean? Instead of just like shoot them a text or,
They
message
were around
them or
before
whatever.
text.
Yeah,
That's why.
they allow that.
No, my voicemail literally says, if you love me, text me.
Dude, that's so funny.
I don't want a voicemail. I just text me like,
Yeah.
you
Get a voicemail and you're like, dude, it has to be a salesperson or a
no, if I get a
mistake or-
voicemail, the first thought is, you don't love me.
Totally, you don't know me.
My
you
mom
don't
will
love
literally leave me a voicemail. She goes, I do love you, but I'm driving and I can't text right now.
You're like, okay.
Okay, that's fair. Fine.
Yeah. But yeah, we just have to understand that we want to rehumanize our relationships, and we need to be intentional about not doing more things on the digital space than we do in the material world. That's like a big thing, and that
That's good.
takes a lot,
Some
And-
intentionality.
Yeah, some intentionality. And even, dude, it's like, man, it's great to like tell my daughter I love her on text. Like she doesn't live in town. So I do that all the time. Or I'll tell you, thinking about you today, just want you to know like how proud I am of you or whatever. And it's awesome, but it's different when she hears my voice.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just different. And there's a connection there. And I even know she responds differently. Like when it's more humanized and not just digitized.
Not just a heart emoji.
Yeah, not just a heart emoji or whatever that's there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, the Centered Podcast is brought to you by
Starbucks.
Mosaic. No,
Oh,
no.
sorry.
Not Starbucks.
I'm trying to get us some money, dude.
Starbucks.
Come on.
Hey.
Yeah.
No, by Mosaic, a Jesus-centered community, hence the hat. I was referring to the hat, not the
Oh, not
coffee.
the drink.
The
Yeah.
other product
The
placement.
other product placement.
Yeah, I've got some too. Like made
made
new
new.
sweatshirt,
Yeah. Mosaic's a place where broken people can be made new.
Absolutely. And that's what we love about this. And that's kind of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Right? Is we want to see people made new, not just philosophically, but in real life.
Yeah. And man, we've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of people seeing their lives completely transformed just by centering it on Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to be a part of. And we want to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that in mind, brought
Yeah.
to you by Mosaic.
Yeah.
We don't have Starbucks yet as a
Not
sponsor,
yet.
so our only commercial for today is going to be about Grow Together. So
Yes.
tell us about Grow Together. It's coming up April 9th It's a Wednesday. No, second.
April 2nd.
Second.
Yeah, first Wednesday of April. April
We're
2nd.
bad with dates and times.
Bad with dates and times.
The two
It's
of
on.
us.
If you want to find out more information, go to welcometomosaic.info.
Yes.
That's the digital space we've created for all things Mosaic.
Yeah, it's a good digital space.
It is a great digital space because it's leading you towards positive things.
Right.
So that's what we want, and this is one of the ways. Maybe spend 10 minutes on .info instead of on Instagram this week.
That would be,
wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah,
And check
that'd be
out
awesome.
what we got going on. But Grow Together is a discipleship series that we're running. We have 4 classes running 6 weeks each, and all of the classes are designed to expand our imagination about what's possible when we center our lives on Jesus. And so I just, really excited. We're gonna talk about things of like the true story of the world, looking at what the Scripture actually is and what it's not, and how we could sort of find a place in it. We're going to talk about following Jesus and everyday mission and the secret to joy. There's all kinds of beautiful things.
The
that we're
secret to
talking
joy.
about.
Like I want.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
It's a secret. I want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know what it
I'm
is.
going to
Yeah. So that's a
all
great
the conspiracy
class.
theorists out there and be like, I want to go to that class.
My tinfoil hat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No. No. That's incredible. And I like you've talked about this as like a map versus a menu.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is like you think about. We're all going somewhere, and this is like grow together. We want to grow together.
Yeah.
So if you have a map, you wind up at the same location at the end. It's the whole adage of, if you have an airplane and it's going 2 degrees in the wrong direction, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But at the end of the trip, they're 1,000 miles from the destination.
They could be on a different continent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the way I've been thinking about this is like, man, together we're taking a journey. We're all going to the same destination because ultimately we do want to see broken people made new. We do want to see lives centered on Jesus. And we believe that the Bible gives us some pretty explicit ways that happens.
Totally.
And that we can live that out and be that. And so, that's just how I've been thinking about it. So definitely check out welcometomosaic.info, Grow Together. And that is starting April 2nd.
Yep. First Wednesday in April. Be awesome.
Yeah. I think that's all we've got for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, this is coming. Like and subscribe.
Definitely.
Yes, I remember 4-year-old Noah, my son, going like and subscribe on just his iPad video. It was very cute. I'm not as cute doing it, but it really does help us get this in front of other people because that's really the goal. As much as we like talking about this, we don't have to record it to do that.
No, we could just
sit in our office and do
want
that.
people to have a conversation with us.
Yeah. We want to help people grow in their faith and in this journey following Jesus. And so please do like and subscribe, share with your friends, post it on social media. That's a good use.
That's a good use of social media. Get the word out.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next week. Next week, we are talking about...
consumer practices.
Oh.
Spending is the word we're using, but really we're talking about a Jesus-centered ethic for a consumer-centered world.
Oh. Amazon?
Amazonian faith, yes.
Amazonian
Prime.
faith.
Oh, we should call it Prime faith.
I actually, I don't use Amazon at all.
No.
I use Amazon.
Oh,
yeah, it's
sounds
a little
way better.
trendier.
Yeah.
it's like the people who go to Target, instead of Target.
European version of
Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah. All right, hey, thank you so much. We'll see you next week as we talk about consumer practices and Amazonian faith.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to Centered. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. You can listen to Centered on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube. To learn more about Mosaic or connect further, visit us online at welcometomosaic.com. See you next week.